Well, this is going to be the first week we have all 3 podcasts coming out. And for now, this is all I'm going to have, unless I make another one, which I don't think I will, at least in the near future. So, I'm going to kind of combine all these podcasts into 3, generalizing a lot now, and call them the Big 3. Kind of like KD, The Truth, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen. Except not, but hey, it works, right? So anyways, it's been very quiet on the news front. We've signed 7 of our draft picks. And Landon Dickerson has not been one of them, surprisingly. Not surprisingly. But they've signed most. They haven't signed Jacoby Stevens and Landon Dickerson, I think, are the 2 they haven't signed, if I'm not mistaken, but not a lot to talk about, but we still got something. Now, somebody tweeted out about anybody but Kansas City or Tampa Bay could use Julio to improve. Just in a general tweet. Now, this is something I really wanted to talk about. No, there's certain teams that don't need Julio, because they're in a different spot where they're not going to want or need a veteran receiver, like rebuilding teams, or teams that already have that vet leadership there, and they're younger teams that aren't going to want another guy like Julio, who could potentially start to digress sooner or later, kind of like an Alshon Jeffrey, whether it be out of nowhere or not. But it also could be one injury that just done, one injury, he's not the same, like a Jordan Howard, because Jordan Howard still hasn't gotten back to his former production yet. But I mean, the Bills I don't think they'd need him as much as they need another corner or linebacker. Besides, they play a 5 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver set a lot of times. I'd rather build up with some good guys on the outside than get yourselves another couple guys that play similar to a Cole Beasley, or a Julian Edelman, where they can hurt you from anywhere on the field, and you just got to get them the ball. And then that also opens up the field for Josh Allen, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, and it's also going to depend, does Dawson Knox take another step? But that's still a good enough team where I think they just need to let the youth learn and start to get experience and bring in those little key pieces here and there in the role-playing game, and then you're set for a contender run. We got to remember, this young team almost made it to the Super Bowl, and they're super young and super talented and have a lot of potential going forward. And then another team that brought up is the Titans. Yes and no. They could use him, but they also don't need him. You've already got Derrick Henry, the same guy who took Josh Norman's soul, but that's a whole nother story. And I mean, do you really... I think they could utilize him across from Hollywood Brown, but if they don't want to give up a certain amount for him, I don't think they go for him. I don't think they need to go for him at that point. And looking at the Bills, I wouldn't think they'd give a lot of capital for a Julio, because they're building on youth, and if you're going to build on youth like that, you bring in more youth to learn behind guys who are getting experience. That way you don't really have to lean on the veterans as much. But it all depends on how everything plays out there. There's a couple other teams where I'm like, not really. Like a Browns. The Browns don't need another receiver. They're fine. Unless Landry or OBJ leave, which I don't see happening. And, I mean, you're not going to put Julio in the slot. And he wants to go somewhere that's not only a team that's going to win, but has a strong QB. Oh, so Philly's out, huh? Philly must be out because Hurts is unproven. I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Hurts is unproven. Just like I'll say it about Smith. Yes, Smith may be a Heisman winner, but that doesn't matter in the NFL. Ask Ryan Leaf. You can win a Heisman. Actually, did Ryan Leaf win a Heisman? I'm pretty sure he did. Yes, he's the third receiver to win a Heisman. Cool. It doesn't mean he's going to succeed in the NFL. That's like saying this guy was a consensus All-American for 4 years in college. He will succeed in the NFL. No, that's not how it works. Awards don't dictate how you're going to do at the next level. That's not how it works. And I say that all the time. And I'm like, you can't say this guy's won this award and say it's going to translate. Congratulations, you won an award. It's not going to matter at the next level. It may even put a bit more of a target on your back when you're on the field. But this is a mostly unproven offense. Julio wouldn't want to come here. What teams have a strong quarterback and are contenders? That need him. Okay, now I'm really thinking about this. I didn't think I was going to bring that up. Let me look. Actually, he wouldn't want to. I know he wouldn't want to go to the Steelers because Big Ben can't throw long distances. His elbow's gone since that Tommy John surgery, and it shows with his with how much time in next gen stats with how much time on average it takes him to get the ball out. Fastest quarterback last year because he was always dumping the ball off on short routes. Or most of the time dumping the ball on short routes. But, that need have to contend with a bit of youth there. Smith-Schuster's not as what he was anymore, though. I will say, he's not a number one receiver anymore. He's more like a 3 or a 4. He's not a number 1. He's not what everyone thought he was going to be. He was overhyped, but hey, that's what happens when your career takes a big step down. You gotta either earn your way back up or not. Green Bay does kind of need a Julio, and they could use it. Because, yes, they have a young receiver core, but it's not the best. New Orleans just lost Drew Brees. You think he wants to go there? There's a lot of question marks on that team, especially with, is Michael Thomas going to come back from that surgery and be good as soon as he arrives back? I don't know. Is it going to stop him getting injured mid-season? Because he was down at least half the season last year, I think. Yeah, probably. But even if it gets him on the field, he's got to get back to peak playing performance. So I think that team's going to take a serious drop, and I think they're barely going to be fighting for the division this year. And I know that may be a bit of a hot take, but whatever. Who else? San Fran could get him, but it all depends what goes on in there. It all depends. It depends on what they're doing at quarterback, more or less. And at that point, you've got to say, well, you also don't know how they're going to transition with a new quarterback and what will happen with this offense. And they have a big question mark that I don't think you can get answered yet. And I don't think Julio would want to go there. Because, that's a team that's going to have a quarterback controversy for a while. I could see him wanting to go to the Raiders, but I don't think the Raiders would give up enough or would want to give up enough for him, depending on what the price is. Because you got to remember, they're still rebuilding their O-line. They're building up that D-line to even better, and they have to rebuild their secondary. Do they really want to give up picks for Julio? Probably not. They're probably better off just getting somebody in free agency that can do half the job that he can, but is going to be not only probably cheaper, but you also don't give up anything. I mean, that's just well, the Patriots could go for him, and they're probably who I'd say would get him, but it's the Patriots. I don't see why not they wouldn't go for him, because they're in win now mode and they have nothing to lose. But there's also just a sense of, well, how much does Atlanta want? And that's something that I'm going to keep bringing up. How much do they want? How much are they willing to take for him? Because you got to remember, teams are going to negotiate up and down and left and right all day long, but that's not going to get you anywhere. Negotiations are just half the battle. It's finding a deal that both sides can come out with. And then there's something else I wanted to bring up. So I keep hearing the whispers about potential Deshaun Watson coming to Philly. No. I don't want this to happen. I don't think this is going to happen. I don't know why this would happen. I know why, but I don't at the same time. So, I mean, yes, you're bringing in a more proven quarterback, but what are you giving up for him? You're not you could sacrifice one of those firsts, but I mean, wouldn't you want to utilize that in next year's draft and then potentially get someone to get at least, I'd say, a corner, an old lineman, a D lineman. Because then you actually, no, corner, D lineman, safety, or corner. No, corner and linebacker. I'm mixing myself up. Corner, D line, tight end. That's where I'd utilize. And then your second, I'd probably go linebacker. We need a linebacker. I would gladly take a new defensive lineman to learn behind Brandon Graham or Fletcher Cox. Preferably Fletcher. Or not Fletcher, Brandon Graham. But I'll also take one behind Fletcher. I wouldn't argue with that. Someone who's a top 3 round pick. Or top 2 round pick. We need a number 2 corner of the future, or a number 1 corner of the future, or a number 2 corner for now. We also need a tight end, because Ertz is going to be gone after this year, and apparently Goddard is renegotiating with Philly, and the contract talks have started, and he wants to be here for a while, at least. So, with him staying, probably, keyword probably, and Ertz probably going, or most likely going, you need another tight end. The first one is the first round, depending on who's there this year, could be the perfect time to get him, and depending on where your picks are. So, if you deal one of those, you may not get your tight end, and you have to move your tight end to the second round, and then you don't get your who did I say? Linebacker. Then you don't get your linebacker till the third. Then that's fringe starter talent. Fringe potential starter talent. For what this team is right now. But I'm not predicting what the draft's going to be. I'm just saying that's what I go with. And why would you sacrifice one of those just for at least one of those, and potentially maybe even a third or a fourth and a player for Deshaun, unless you're getting rid of Derek Barnett in a first. I will gladly ship that off. Bye, Barnett. I'm glad you're gone. But Barnett's contract's expiring, so, well, yeah, his contract's expiring, and he's on a 5th-year option worth $10 million. You're telling me a team's going to want Derek Barnett on a $10 million 5th-year option, and they have to renegotiate unless they negotiated for the other team, gave him an extension, and sent him off, and then a first-rounder. No matter what, if you get rid of Barnett and Then deal one of the firsts and maybe a fifth. Bye. See ya. Be gone. I'll gladly take somebody to fill in your spot in the first round. I don't like Barnett. I really don't. I think we have enough behind him and Sweat, and if we got a first or second round defensive end, you may be set, kind of like you were. And Barnett, yes, he hasn't lived up to expectations or where he should have been or his contract. I don't think he'd take enough of a pay cut where I'd want him here. Honestly, I'd cut him down to $4 with $2 million in incentives. $4 million with $2 million in incentives for 1 year and tell him, you play good, you stay. You don't, you leave. Bye. And if he doesn't like it, sayonara. I don't care. He hasn't produced like he should have over the past couple years. His production's been mid-pack. Not great, not horrible. Mid-pack. Not what you'd want from a first-rounder. I mean, there's been times where I'm like, can we get Josh Sweat in over our former first-rounder? And I mean, people compare it to a Derek Barnett or to a Brandon Graham situation. But how many times are you going to have a Brandon Graham situation, especially when you have a new regime just coming in? No. Yes, the new regime may make him better, but it also could make him worse. Not only that, I think this year for Derek Barnett is do or die. There's multiple players, multiple guys that I'm like, this year for you, you're do or die. If you don't succeed, I'm sorry, but you're gone. I don't care. Open the spot up for somebody that can potentially take the next step forward, develop, and become something great. That's how the NFL is. It's a business. And sometimes your favorite players leave, but there's also times where sometimes you got to know when to deal somebody. Whether it's your favorite player or a player you hate or dislike. You got to know the right time to dish out a player because he's struggling and can't get off the ground running with this team. And Derek Barnett is one of those players that it's like this year you're do or die. If you don't succeed, then you're gone. I think I would say J-Jaw next year is going to be in that. This year is kind of in that already stage of like you do something or you're cut or traded. I also think, well, who else is in that spot? There's nobody else that's really here that has been established that you can say you get to a somewhat established. You can say get to a better level and show me some development or you're gone, because we don't know what we have in most of our guys right now. We don't know what we have really at corner behind Darius Slay. You don't know what you have at receiver. You don't know what you have at behind Goddard at tight end, and Ertz may go within the next couple months. So then what do you have at tight end 2 and 3? I don't care if you've got some projects, Jack Stoll, Trevon Grimes, Caleb Wilson, Kroom. They haven't shown you almost any NFL production if they've gotten on the field, and most of them haven't really touched field at tight end. Most of them haven't really gotten. There's one of them that's gotten. Well, I think one or two of them have gotten targets, and really been on the field. Kroom, Wilson. That's why I've been pounding the table to bring back Joshua Perkins. Not only was he one of my favorite players, but he's got the experience. He knows he'd come in, he'd give you some production, and then you can go home at night happy that you have a somewhat sustainable tight end 2 position. All right. That kind of drifted off from Watson, but hey, sometimes it's good to have a moment and kind of look over the team and say, yeah, this needs to happen. But Devonta Smith plans for his rookie signing bonus. Yes, he did sign earlier this week. He said, quote, just put it in the bank. That's a smart man right there. That is smart. I like that quote. I do like that quote, because he basically said, well, just in the bank, save it up for later. Let it gain interest. It's there later. I like that. I like that. The USFL. Guess who's back? So now you have the USFL and the XFL competing in spring football, and I'm pretty sure the XFL is probably going to come back at some point next year. I think it has been confirmed, though I'm not 100% sure. Although it probably will come back. I think it will at least. So if you have two competing summer program or spring programs, or spring leagues, dude, this is gonna be fun football. It will. Because then the other guys, your guys like your JJ, like your lower level NFL guys that are fringe roster talent, are gonna jump around, and then it's gonna be talented football for guys trying to fight to get on teams, and then for potentially the NFL to notice them, or because look at guys like Jordan Teamu who succeeded in the NFL or the XFL, and then made it to the made it onto NFL rosters after, even though they've been backups. 90% of them, they've still made cuts onto NFL rosters. Because it's a good thing for all those guys that the XFL and now the USFL are going to be back. USFL has not announced where the teams are going to be. The XFL, I don't know if they're going to be in the same states and cities. Because they stopped last year due to COVID. I think they're going to be in the same spots. I'm not 100% sure. It depends on how everything works out. But that's great news for guys like Devontae Bosby, a former CB, who I don't know if he's still in the league. Guys like that are in a similar spot like Jordan Teamu, who is kind of fringe roster talent that got himself noticed in the XFL playing against other guys that were playing their hearts out and competing for a chance to get looked at. And all in all, a lot of good can come from this. And I can't wait to see who gets put in both those leagues and how those leagues compete. If the XFL is going to be around. But I can't wait. It's going to be fun. This was a shorter podcast, I know, but nothing happened. Nothing really happened. But anyways, this has been the Common Flock. I will see you next time. We have the big three lineup. They should come out around the same time as each other. I think I'm going to schedule them all 7, 7:30, 8. So we have the big three lineup coming out tonight. I can't wait. I'm recording the next two after this one. I will see you guys around later tonight. Common Flock out.